This is Bear Hill Shire. Hi, this is the Bear Hill Shire Toyjik introduction video. This is part 2 where we talk about our ranks and our organization. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the different disciplines and the different paths that you can take as a Toyjik or an initiate. One of the things that you'd want to start with is deciding what you want to do in the Shire. So as you come into the Shire, you're basically an initiate who has no association or affiliation with any of the different disciplines. The three different disciplines are crafting, combat, and armament. Those different disciplines have different techniques that they use to do certain things. They have different manners of advancement. They have different styles in which they work. The best way example I can give you is that you don't join the army to become a painter, and you don't join the crafters to do blacksmithing. Uh, you can do all three at the same time, but you're not going to learn the other knowledge that the other disciplines have to give you in one of those fields. So here's a good example. Let's say that my interest is to become a tailor and a bard. So what I would do as a Toyjik, I would start by seeking out somebody in the crafting discipline as a sponsor. I would get my sponsor and then I would start on my road of advancement. I start out as a student of crafting, which means I'm a squire or a student or an apprentice. Those are the intermediate ranks before knights. So you haven't been officially chained yet. You're not really sure if this is what you want to do. You're just trying it on for size to see if this is something that you're interested in, if the way that we present the knowledge to you is the way you want, uh, things like that. Is this what you thought it was? Maybe you wanted to be a weaver, but not your thing. Let's say it is. Let's say that you decide that you want to go on with a tailoring skill. So you work towards the requirements to become a knight. And then once you're knighted, you become a Cruich associate. So that's the first knight rank that we have. Each rank has requirements to reach the next rank. So after the Cruich associate, you would become a Cruich fellow. Okay. Once you're a Cruich fellow, you would be promoted to the highest rank of the Cruich, which would be artisan. The artisan ranks and the other master ranks are the top level of those ranks because you've achieved the certain requirements to get that rank. It doesn't mean that you're a master of all things of that rank. It just means that you've achieved that master status. As in, you have more responsibility in the Shire moving forward. It's really apparent how this responsibility works in the military side of things in the combat discipline because then it makes more sense on who's doing what at what ranks. This is more of personal achievement, personal knowledge, but you're also helping out the Shire with teaching, organizing events, classes, demonstrations, sponsorship, things like that. So, as a squire or a student or a apprentice, you're beginning to understand what's involved with that discipline. You're beginning to understand how it works, who the people are involved, how you're going to advance, what the requirements are, what you should be focusing on, where you'll get your knowledge. The first knight rank is basically beginning to specialize and take ownership of one of the discipline skills sets for Cruich. As you get into the intermediate knight ranks, you're more of a administrator now. You're trying to focus on helping out the Shire get more involved with getting more Cruich knights and teaching the Cruich knights. As a master, you're generally tending to, or in this case, an artisan, you're generally tending to develop more parts about the Cruich and come up with new parts of that discipline. So let's say we didn't have a healer as a skill set, you would start developing healer skill sets and looking for more things that you can do with it. As we go into the other ranks, we have armament or aramexeg. I say Cruich, that's the Scottish Gaelic word for crafting. Aramexeg is armament and Colreg is combat. The armament discipline is all about building, so stone, wood, leather, metal. As a potential blacksmith or leather worker, I would definitely want to steer towards these ways. I would start out again as a apprentice, which is the same as a squire or the same as a student. You're not chained as a knight. You're really beginning to understand, do you want to do this or not? The same theory follows with armament as it does with crafting. You have the three different ranks of the knights. In this case, the first rank would be journeyman, the second rank would be craftsman, and then the highest armament rank would be master armament or Aramexeg knight master. Okay, that's how that rank would be explained. The combat ranks have three different types of combat: soldiers, barbarians, and gladiators. We did this because we wanted to give a mix of how people fight and how people have fought in the past. There's the military, which is all about organization and control of a battlefield, organized movements, organized structure. Everything's pretty rigid as far as how it's set up and what's expected of you. So there's really no surprises, but there's also not a lot of deviation from the norm. And the whole point of that is to gain wins on the battlefield. If we fight other groups in a field setting, we want to be able to outmaneuver, outflank, and outfight them as a group. That's the whole point of the army. Any army in history is to fight as a group. For the people that really aren't into rigid structure, being told what to do, team play, they want to do their own thing. We have the barbarians. Both of these are armored combat ranks. So you're fighting with armor on, you're fighting with weapons. The barbarians are more anti-military, actually, and they're used as a guerrilla warfare, anti-logistics, anti-military combat techniques. So as you can imagine, a barbarian people, when I say barbarian, I don't mean like they're vicious and savage. I mean, there's just no structure. It's pretty much an open democracy with no ranks or hierarchies. Everybody just kind of works together, but there's no leaders, so to speak. The knowledge here and the ranks here really reflect your knowledge of these skills. The combat ranks or the soldier ranks reflect your rank in the army, so to speak. The barbarians really deal with weapon specialties, one-on-one fighting, uh, protection, bodyguards, anti-military movements. So that's the two armored ranks. The unarmored fighters are the gladiators. These are the hand-to-hand fighters, martial artists who fight, wrestle, box, however you want to put it. They fight all about unarmored, so they're not wearing any kind of protection except for basic padding that you would use normally in a martial arts tournament, just to stop people from getting seriously hurt. Boxing gloves, cup, depending on what style you're doing. The gladiators really focus on the skills of hand-to-hand fighting. There's always going to be at least one school of gladiator, depending on how many masters of that we have. So right now we have one school that's Taekempo, which is a school I started as a younger man before any of this ever came up. It's basically a combination of Taekwondo, Kempo, Aikido, and Judo, U.S. Marine Corps line fighting, some basic nasty street fighting, things like that. And there's a structure to it, there's ranks. And when you join a gladiator school, you would basically be joining whatever specific school you're looking for. So you'd start off as a squire of any of these three divisions of the combat discipline. So it's the combat discipline, the crafting discipline, and the armament discipline. The combat discipline has three divisions. It's divided into three. Any of the squires are expected to have basically none or no experience fighting, or have the understanding that they're going to be put into that position and learn the system from the ground up. The recommendations from the combat privy counselor would be to start as a gladiator, to learn basic hand-to-hand fighting skills, basic hand-to-hand martial arts, which then would be put into practice working as a team in the military or in the Bear Hill Army or as a soldier. then eventually going on to master different weapon styles as a barbarian. Now, you don't have to do it that way. You can start as a barbarian, you could start as a soldier, you could start as a gladiator, whatever you want to do. You can do all 5 things. So, student of crafting, squires of gladiators, soldiers, and barbarians, and also be a apprentice of armament. However you want to do it. There's really no selection. There's really no definition and no requirements that you have to do it this way. The different ranks in the combats go by, in the case of the gladiators, they wear sashes. So you're wearing basically no armor and a sash around your waist, blue, green, red, brown, and black. The barbarians have degrees, so there's first, second, third, fourth, and fifth degree barbarians. The fifth degree barbarian being the master, the first being the squire. There's 2 squire ranks in the combat section because it takes a little bit more time to get used to fighting than it does to get used to crafting or armament. Plus, there's the chance that somebody can get hurt if they don't know what they're doing. So that's why we want to have extra ranks in there to make sure that there's progression, slow progression. The first rank of the soldiers is a private, then a corporal, then a sergeant. The officer ranks start at the 3rd degree barbarian, the red sash gladiators, and the lieutenant in the soldier. The next would be the captain. The silver ranks here would be the 4th rank barbarian, 4th degree barbarian, and the brown sash gladiator. The last rank in the gladiator would be the gold black shield here, which would be the black sash barbarian, I'm sorry, gladiator, black sash gladiator, and then the gold plated badge, the double axis for the 5th degree barbarian. The general is the second to last rank in the military. The marshal is the highest rank. If you get into the soldier division explanations more in detail, these ranks have very specific jobs, requirements, responsibilities of what they do, and the organization of the military is broken down into very specific ways, and there's other videos on that. Those are the 3 disciplines of the Bear Hill Shire. And if you notice at the end here, there's this other badge, which is a brown badge, which is called the Maze Deer or the Master rank, which means that you have achieved at least one of the masters in all 3 divisions. So you have to be a Cruich master, you'd have to be, or a Cruich artisan, a Aramexeg or a armament master, and you'd have to be either a 5th degree barbarian, a black sash gladiator, or a general to hold a Maze Deer badge. And that just means that you are the epitome or the pinnacle of the rank advancements in the Bear Hill Shire. And that your job is to come up with new things for the Shire to do as you go forward. You're the people that go to for advice. You're the person that they try to learn from. You're the old person, the old teacher in the group. Now, some people can be intimidated by all these ranks. They don't have to do this. This is really more of a if you want to advance. Now, the voting rights for the Shire, if you want to have a vote in there, you have to have at least a squire rank. So this line right here is where it starts. That's where you have to decide if you want to be a part of it. That's fine. You have to start here. If you want to stay a Toyjik or an initiate, you don't have to do anything. You can come and fight. You can come and be a part of events. A lot of it's going to depend on the groups and the sponsorships on how you actually go forward. If they need you to choose their discipline, they may make a more advanced, this is where we need a commitment from you to become a part of this rank. There's nothing wrong with trying things out. You know, hey, I want to do blacksmithing. I'd like to sit in on a class or 2. I'd like to watch it done, maybe try it out. Sure, that's fine. If you want recognition for what you've done in the Shire, as far as, awards or basically saying this is something that you've achieved, you need to be a part of the structure here. Again, there's no requirements for you to move forward. You can stay an initiate if you like the whole time. The sponsorships work pretty much like this. Crafting, armament, you ask somebody for a sponsorship. They pick you up. They help you get started with the equipment you need, with the materials you need, or with the armor you need if you're in the combat. Now, the combat is a little bit different. The barbarians, you have to ask or find a sponsor. The soldiers, you're assigned a sponsor, and the gladiators, you're assigned a school. So once you pick a school, you're basically taught from the get-go how to do those styles. Nobody expects you to just start, walking in there and fighting like a master. They want you to learn. So there's definitely going to be schools and classes for that. That's the basics of the initiate or Toyjik second video, where we talk about Bear Hill Shire rankings and what you can do with them, how it all works together. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us on Facebook or message the Baron or any of the privy counselors that are in charge of those disciplines. Thanks for watching. You have a great day. This has been a production of Bear Hill Films.